LaVar, has Jameis Winston earned the Saints' starting job?
Earned the starting job, I would say he has proven that he should be in the conversation for the starting job. You think about the Jameis Winston situation and how it came about. You lose Teddy Bridgewater, right? You brought Teddy Bridgewater in to be the heir apparent to Drew Brees when he left, and that became evident when Drew Brees got injured, and they brought Teddy Bridgewater into the game as the starter for the amount of time that he was gone. I think that they let and allowed Teddy Bridgewater to go for the simple fact that they were able to get a hold of Jameis Winston, and I think that they had that same thought process in mind when they brought Jameis to the New Orlean Saints. So giving him this opportunity to prove that he should be in the conversation of being a starter, I think he has done that. I think he has performed well. He's protected the ball. He's shown what is seemingly enough growth in these first two preseason games. But I just don't give credence that this is enough of a sample size to say that today you go along and go ahead and as Sean Payton and say, here is our starting quarterback. We'll go from here. So as of right now, he's done enough to be the starter. I don't think he's done anything to take himself out of the conversation. But I will say this, it's probably wise and prudent for Coach Sean Payton to continue down the lane that he's gone thus far in terms of how he's handling putting out the information of if Jameis is the starter or not.
If we're going based on just last night's game, there's no question that Jameis Winston proved that he's the starter between him and Taysom Hill. And I was blown away. Not, again, automatic disclaimer, we're all going to have it. It's only preseason. Can't make too much of whatever is being done. But it wasn't so much that he threw a number of gorgeous balls and a couple of touchdown passes to Marquez Callaway, but it was really the demeanor of Jameis Winston that looked so starkly different from anything that I saw in Tampa Bay or even in Florida State. It was the poise and the emotional maturity that I saw. After the touchdown against Callaway, just a gorgeous throw, gorgeous catch. He comes down, gives him a little tap on the helmet, off he goes. A 3 and out is going back to the sideline. Sean Payton calls him over. He's looking him in the eye, listening, moves on. Like, those things sound really simple. Those are things that I didn't see from Jameis Winston before. And so they give me all the confidence in the world when I combine that with the talent that he has. Because the reality is, when I look at some of the plays, again, disclaimer, preseason, the plays that he made, the throws that he made last night, I've never seen Taysom Hill make, in preseason or otherwise. And so when I put the poll package together, I look at what Sean Payton said. He didn't say, I don't know who my starter is. He said, I don't know what the time frame is for me to tell you who my starter is. I dare say at this point, comparing these two, he knows who the starting quarterback should be, and that is Jameis Winston.
I think that he's always known who the starting quarterback was, but it was closer than it has been in other quarterback battles around the league. So he had to put Jameis Winston through this process. But Jameis Winston is the starting quarterback for the New Orlean Saints. Not because Taysom Hill isn't talented, not because he doesn't have the ability to make plays. It's because Jameis Winston has 70 career starts compared to Taysom Hill's 4. Now, Jameis Winston was a #1 overall pick. We know what his struggles have been. He is not an efficient quarterback. He has high-level production and high-level turnovers. And in an efficient league that we are in right now, that gunslinger thing only works for so long. Because if you start turning the ball over as much as Jameis has, that translates to points for the other team, and they tend to keep track of that these days. So he is in a position now where he's not in a let-it-fly offense. He's with Sean Payton, who has had Drew Brees for a very long time. They have a certain way of doing things. They have a culture. They know how to win, and he's been in that system. Now, I understand they're paying Taysom Hill a lot more, which in a lot of cases can sometimes sway people to kind of justify that check. Taysom is making $12.1 million to Jameis's $5.5, but I also trust that Sean Payton is going to make the best decision for his team and not necessarily worry about who's getting paid what. Jameis Winston has a lot of experience as a starting every down quarterback. That doesn't mean that Taysom is not going to contribute mightily to this offense this year, similar to what he did with Drew Brees. But if we're talking about who's going to be the starting quarterback week one, I believe that Jameis Winston has earned that position, but I also believe he has the most experience and gives them the best chance to win right now in what is a very weird year for the Saints. The Saints are coming off of the departure of Drew Brees, the soul of the team, the soul of that city, the leader of that organization, and they need to move forward without Michael Thomas. It's a very weird year for the Saints as is, and I think that Jameis can step in as the starting quarterback with the experience that he has in that position, the most seamless for the Saints, and that's why I think he's earned it.
Yeah, I'm going to continue to double down on my original theme, which is they did not bring Jameis in to beat out Taysom Hill. They brought Jameis Winston in to replace Drew Brees. Now, with that being said, he sat behind Drew Brees for an entire season. This is what Jameis Winston brought to the table with a league minimum deal. Second most passing yards in NFL history in his first 5 seasons. 19,000 yards, 737 yards. That's a whole bunch of yards. Led the NFL in passing yards, if y'all remember, in 2019. Yeah, he turned the ball over, but he led the league in passing yards. Buccaneers had a top 10 total offense in yards in 4 or 5 seasons with Winston starting. These are things that we're talking about Sean Payton saw firsthand. He saw these things firsthand because they're in the same division. So when you think about what Sean Payton was feeling he was getting when he got Jameis Winston, you mentioned emotional maturity. The emotional maturity was probably the one piece, the one ingredient that Jameis Winston was missing when he came to this New Orleans Saints team. And that's probably the only reason why he didn't command top dollar as a free agent talent. So when I look at the whole entirety of this situation, Taysom Hill wasn't paid to be the starter when he got that big contract. Taysom Hill was paid to be Taysom Hill for what he represents to the New Orleans Saints, which is a utility man. They expect him to be the same guy that he's been since he's been with the New Orleans Saints, which is a guy that comes in situationally as a quarterback, can play different positions, can even possibly at the times, if you need so, play special teams for this team. He will continue to be that utility guy for this New Orleans Saints team. And due to his compensation, I don't think Taysom Hill will have any problem considering that his role is solidified the way that it is with this roster and with this team.
LaVar, I'm with all of that. I just don't know that Sean Payton knew that Jameis Winston could have the growth emotionally.
No, he didn't.
To Joy's point, in decision-making.
Yeah, I agree
to
with
be
you.
that starting quarterback.
Agreed.
Right?
Yes, agreed.
So Taysom Hill, I believe, was a little bit more than we're going to pay you to be a utility guy. You're always going to be a utility guy. I think he was a safety blanket. I think it was, if the Jameis Winston experiment does not work, then we do have a guy that we can put out there as our starting quarterback.
Yes.
And I do believe there are going to be times where Taysom Hill is still going to play, that Sean Payton at times is going to mix and match. But if I'm going to start one or the other, I can't go to Jameis Winston off of the bench. I can't reverse those roles. Jameis has to be my guy. And again, it's not just the emotional maturity kind of covers everything because it does affect the decision-making on the field. And he was that gunslinger. He was always trying to make the huge play, even when the huge play wasn't there to be made. And I still can't get over, like, I remember the guy who ate his fingers. I don't know what that winning thing was, but yes, exactly. And he was a cross between a TV evangelist and a stand-up comedian half the time when he was in Tampa Bay. And now I see this, like, this reserved, like, watching everything, taking everything in, the composure. And honestly, I love to see it because he just needed time to grow up, right? He just needed that opportunity to let his personal maturity catch up with his physical abilities. And now we're seeing it, and I think there's great promise there. There was one play where he was looking downfield, and he just checked down, and I went, that's unbelievable. That is huge growth for Jameis Winston, and I'm glad to see it.
Rick, we all tried to put that image of the dub eating behind us. So thank you for reminding us that happened.
Sorry.
I tried to remove that from my memory.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I agree. We're seeing a different Jameis. Jameis also had LASIK surgery done. He's also clearly in a little bit better shape. Not that I really felt like that played a role in his success or not. He obviously was able to move around and throw the ball regardless. But he does look different, and he has a different demeanor about him. And he's talked about what being around Drew Brees and Sean Payton and what the Saints offered him was a quarterback education, like a quarterback college, basically, working with the two of them. So I do think he has changed a lot. And sometimes the best thing for a player can be to go to a different organization and culture. We know where you land specifically if you're a quarterback really matters. And he's now in a situation where they run a different type of offense. They've had success, so they know what works and they can prove it. And when you go to a culture and a situation where the person that's guiding you, the person that's giving you that advice has one doing things a particular way at a high level, is a Hall of Famer and is showing you how to do things, sometimes that, permeates a little bit and changes how you approach things. So again, I think he's earned it. I think he's showing that he has the capability of running the offense. And I personally, if I'm Sean Payton, am leaning on someone who has shown that they are a starting quarterback in the league despite his mistakes, because I believe that I can limit those mistakes by changing how he approaches and changing our game plan and how we run our offense.
Again, his talent has never been in question. His stat line speaks for itself. His accomplishments speak for themselves. I mean, coming out of college, we know what it is. The draft, we know what it is. His stat line in the league, we know what it is. It's that emotional maturity, as we mentioned, and I think that that's going to go a long way for Jameis. Sometimes being that number one pick at the team that you're on can create a false sense of security and maybe a false sense of having a lot of real, bravado connected to what it is that you have going on. And he had to take a couple steps back. And sometimes in life, you got to take a couple steps back before you take a couple steps forward. Shouts out to Jameis. I don't know if he's going to start, but it looks like he's heading for it.